Hey everybody, I'm Lex.
And I'm Josh with PDQ.com.
Guys, we are going to take you through deploying printers. I want you to read my shirt today because, you know, I'm going to tell you, and Josh is going to agree, best way to do printers is with a GPO. And we will show you that towards the end of this, but we're going to take you through in case you have to do a mother may I because you're not the person in charge of GPOs and you're tired of asking how to get those deployed with PDQ Deploy. And then I like how Kelly was like, we'll cross our fingers this is going to work because printers, it's a dice roll a lot of times, guys. So should we jump in?
Let's jump in and try it.
All right.
Let's see if it works.
So the first thing, and we're just going to start really, really simple. Okay, we're going to go with just how to do a command line, deploying a command line to a remote machine to install a network printer.
So this is a printer that's already shared off a print server.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open up the package I made here. Now, it's always good practice, and guys, because I typed so bad, we pre-did this yesterday. Yes, and it's a good thing we did because, man, Josh is like, that's like a Linux slash there, buddy. That ain't going to work.
You got to lean the other way.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're going to start out by deleting the printer. We call this printer Northy, and this is our lab. So we put one printer on, and then we put the one in the north end of the building, so hence the name Northy. So it's always good practice to delete one if it exists. And the thing is, if it doesn't exist, it's not a big deal. It's just going to move right on.
Yep.
So the first command, again, we're going to call the print UI exe. That /GD is for a global delete. Now, everybody, you got to understand when you're doing it this way, it's at a machine level, not a user level.
Yep. Hence the global.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are times, obviously, when you want to do it machine level and times when you, okay, I can't think of a whole lot of times you want to do it machine level unless you want it for everybody, but most of the time, user level.
Because users are the ones that use printers, not really computers, so you typically want to target users, but...
Again, we'll get to that with the GPO. So, anyway, I'm going to delete this printer if it exists, and that's command, and make sure you actually name the printer that is on the print server. So I'm going to actually go to that print server, and so we can see web. Did I actually type that right? Or did I? There it is. Okay, so Lexmark Northy, it does matter, the spelling, the spaces.
Yep.
So you need to make sure.
You got spaces, use quotes.
It's generally just a good idea. Use quotes just because, guys. So,
yep.
Anywho, that's Northy. So I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to add it. And the only difference between the last statement and this one is it's a GA for a global add as opposed to a global delete. We'll add, and then just because sometimes I added this line because sometimes, depending on your version of Windows. You were telling me yesterday certain versions of Windows, they don't necessarily always show up on, after you do it in the printer and devices. We're going to start and stop spooler generally helps to make that pop up.
Yep.
So we're going to just deploy this guy out to
our good friend Morty.
Morty? Let's do Morty.
Yeah, let's use Morty.
And I'm going to cross my fingers because, guys, I made the package, and so we might be troubleshooting live today. So.
Yeah, and going back to what you're talking about with printers not showing up, it was specifically a fix in the 1803, the last patches that were released. There was occasionally the printers just wouldn't show up in 1803. So if you patch, you'll see them, but they just didn't show up. They still worked. It's just kind of those.
I probably should have popped this up to show you guys that it didn't exist before. So this is the remote to Morty. You'll notice Northy is not in existence there.
Yep.
I'm going to bounce back here. We'll see. Oh, successful. So according to our package, this has shown up, or it should have shown up.
Ooh,
it's been installed. Man, look at that. I am clicking all over the place. Yeah. All right, I'm going to hit a refresh on this, cross our fingers. You know what? It didn't show up here, but guess what? If you happen to try and print to it, so I'm going to go to Notepad, and we'll print some gibberish.
And this is what we were talking about with them not always showing up immediately.
Perform printer-related tasks. Well, okay. Oh. Well, there it is. Anyway, Northy is there. It's available to print.
Yep. It just didn't show up in devices and printers.
It will eventually, but we could print to this right now. So that's one of the kind of the, I would say it's almost like a gotcha, but it's like, and there it is. There it now finally showed up. Yep. It's one of those things, it's like I did it. Did it actually show up? I don't know. So if you do that method and your user's on the phone, just say, hey, go try and print something to that printer and see if it's there. Now, just because we're going to use Morty because we got Morty up, I also have how to delete printers. So here's the delete printers, and it's a VBS script, so a little flashback to the 90s.
And this is already on Windows.
Yeah.
All Windows.
And, I'm looking at Chris because I'm sure Chris would cringe anytime you say VBS. But the nice thing is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
I'll agree with that. And I did VB script for many years, and so it's not as awesome as PowerShell, but it does the job.
It does the job. So again, guys, all I'm doing on this one is I'm running, and you need to run C script on this when you call it. So I've called C script in the path, and print manager -D -X, which is delete everything.
Yep.
All local.
And we're
printers.
running C script because this will throw a pop-up like a dialog box on the target machine if you do not.
Exactly.
So your deployment will appear to hang.
All right, so we're going to kick that off to Morty because, we're going to try and send some other printers to Morty. So deploy once. We'll send that also to Morty just so you can see that Northy is going to get nuked. And the question is, it's running.
Does it go away?
Is it going to make it disappear?
We'll find out.
If it doesn't, when we're done, I'm going to bring up that notepad again and try and print to it, and it probably will be gone.
Yep.
So this usually runs pretty quick. It's running on Morty. Crossing my fingers.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a success.
Okay.
Let's see if it was.
This
actually
this thing works every time. I swear it does. Hey, and it actually did. Okay, so delete it. So we got a fresh slate again. So that's how you would do that with command. And just so you guys know, in the bonus content, I've included all of the commands I've done for you guys so you can follow along. And I believe you got the PowerShell in there too.
I got some PowerShell that we can show. Do the same thing.
Let's do PowerShell the same way.
So a couple things to call out with PowerShell when you're working with printers.
I'm going to trade you drinks
Oh,
before
yes.
I sip on your monster.
Please.
Thank you.
This is only available in Windows 8.1 and higher. It's not a WMF version thing.
Okay, so so you can do it in Windows 7 though, right?
You can, and you can see Chris's blog
Okay.
in the bonus
A
content.
little more extensive, but you can do it in Windows
Much
7.
more.
But is it a WMF or WMI, Chris? Where that comes into play?
Well, it's WMF because, when we say WMF 3 or higher, it's usually synonymous with what PowerShell version you have, at least for us sysadmins who care about PowerShell. But it's the classes, like the WMI classes, don't exist in Windows 7 that exist in Windows 8. And so even if you have a newer version, say PowerShell 5 on Windows 7, those commandlets don't work. They don't
Okay.
exist, essentially.
So what we're showing you is good for,
8.1 and higher.
okay. And then if you need 7, hit Chris's blog. I think we've attached that.
I guess we have. It's in the bonus
Okay.
content. So this one is a really easy one-liner. It's an add printer and then give it a connection name, just like yours did.
Whoa. Okay, so if we're talking efficiency, man, mine took some longer. It took more characters.
It did. It did.
But mine works for Windows 7.
It does, and mine does not.
But all right, so
So you
it's a
got a
debate.
mixed bag.
Yeah, either way. But
Finger
again, I
poison.
like this better because I can't type unless I have to punch in.
I like
Better
this one
chances
because I
for
got
it.
tab complete and I can copy and paste. It's great.
All right.
So we're just doing add printer, connection name, name of the printer.
Once again, same printer.
Yep. So let's go ahead and deploy this out to Morty and make sure that it works.
Okay, so do you think you're going to have the same issue doing this with PowerShell as you would the command, or do you think it's going to show up?
I think I'm going to have the exact same issue.
Okay, so we may have to pop
we may
up
have
a
to
notepad.
pop up a notepad and try and print that here, yeah.
Okay.
So let's...
So again, we bring this up, guys, because you may run into this issue. Okay, you're going to run into this issue when you do this. So
You are.
just be ready to tell
It's a
your end
Windows
user
thing.
to try and print that. So
Yeah. So well, we got a
Well-
success.
oh, okay. Oh, there it is.
There it is. There's our Northy.
Nice.
He's back.
Dorothy's back.
Yeah.
Well, let's delete that. We'll run that delete again. You guys have seen that, and then
Yeah.
we'll take a question while that delete's running.
Dear Lex and dear Josh, I'd like to deploy printers to each office individually, but how can I do it once so that the printers are available for each user on the PC? Thanks, Dougie Doug K.
Dougie Doug K. Did he actually write the words dear? Dear Josh? Dear Lex?
I doubt
It
it.
doesn't matter, but I'm going to go with, any of the ways we show you today will work because anything you're going to deploy is going to go at machine level, and so anybody logging in will get those.
Yep.
When it comes to a GPO, you would have to tag the machine level
you
too.
go machine level and user level if you want. You can do both. But really, any method we're going to show you today can do this for you.
So whichever you like best, whichever's easiest, that's what I'd roll with.
Yep.
Okay, so made that kind of simple.
So I made that really easy. So now we've got network printers added on. So you had another method you wanted to show
Well,
us.
you know what? There's another method that's kind of easy,
Let's
and we're going to switch because the keyboard's on this side. So this is, have you guys heard of print BRM? Basically, that's backup. Print you're going to back up your printers and your drivers, and then what you do is you deploy that file out. I've included the backup statement, and if I pop it up in here, did I leave it in here for everyone to see? Right here. So here's the backup statement, okay? Print BM, and let me get that in the middle. Sorry, everybody. Bad me. All right, so basically, it's printbm.exe /capital B for backup, or not a slash, that's
Dash.
a dash. We had that debate yesterday. And then a -F for file, and then that, I called it netprint, whatever file name you want, that's it. But just make sure when you do the restore, which is the line below, which I included in the package, which I'll show you, is what you need to make sure you...
So this package is basically going to back up all of the printers on the machine where you run the backup command, and then we're going to take those exact printers and drivers and we're going to put them onto another machine with deploy.
Okay, and I ran this on the server, because the server housed the drivers.
Yep.
So it's kind of like one of those, I'm going to get all the printers and give them to everybody. I would use this in the case of like doing imaging machines, and you just want to make sure everyone's got printers.
Yeah. So it's a task immediately after the machine is imaged. Let's get the printers there.
Yep, and basically this is it. You call your System32 spool print or spool tools, print VRM, and then right there. So you're going to restore O for force to overwrite anything that's out there, and the name of the file that you're going to use. It's pretty simple, and let me get rid of that, and we're going to run that again to Morty.
Morty's just taking some abuse today.
It's good for Morty. While I'm running that, should we take a question?
Hey, printer dudes. Sometimes deployed printers show in the Hardware tab when you double-click the computer name in Inventory, and sometimes in the printer's local. What's the difference? Sincerely, DJ Double T Thomas T.
Let's think on that one for
All
a
right,
minute.
so deploying the...
So maybe if I'm reading this correctly, you're seeing printers in the print tab, but also
this is in inventory.
In inventory.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me a minute to get my head around
All
that.
right, so here's what you're going to run into with inventory. Printers are generally at a user level, unless, of course, you've deployed them at a machine level. So when you run the scan, the information you get will be whoever is logged on at that moment. So let's say Josh has got the color printer, and I don't. He's logged in. When it scans that time, it's going to show the Konica color super printer, right? Because he gets to print pictures of his family at work and I don't, right? But let's say I log in the next time, that information is going to get overwritten.
Because you scan that same machine again.
Absolutely.
And now you don't have the Konica.
And because it's kind of like when you start traversing the registry.
Yeah, HT current user.
Exactly.
You're going to have inconsistent results as you scan depending on who's logged in.
That's part of it. Chris, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you guys essentially summed it up. Be aware when you're doing current user stuff. Some of that information is stored, like in the case of the registry and the HKey user's Hive. You can traverse it, you can load or unload individual people's NT user DAT files, and there's stuff you can do, but just be aware of your surroundings, I guess. Look before you leap.
Absolutely. Just understand what's a user level, what's a machine level. So, all right, that ran successful. Let's pop Morty up again. And there it is. It's back.
Northeast back.
Northeast back. Okay. Now the thing I forgot to mention on the package there, guys, you absolutely have to include that file. So
Yes.
you'll see right here, repository webcast netprint. I put it in the repository. Again, here it is. Netprint, that's the file. You'll notice the size of it. Okay. If it was just a text file and an INF file, it'd be teeny. This includes the drivers. So
This is everything you need to get that printer going.
absolutely. So if you get a little teeny file, you're probably not grabbing the drivers. So
Going to be in for a bad time.
ain't gonna be a good time. You'd have a bad time. Absolutely. Okay, so that's kind of the backup and restore. The other thing, and this is where this starts getting kind of difficult, is adding an IP printer port.
Yep.
Because you want to add a printer that's got an IP address, but it's not on.
A print server.
There you go.
It's just a device on your network that has an IP, but you want to install that printer for somebody.
Absolutely. Okay. So here's the package. Now, I'm doing this in steps. Again, I've included this for you guys. Again, I like to remove the previous printer. And speaking of removing the previous printer, let's just redeploy this to Morty one more time so Morty's good and clean before we run this next one. All right. So back to this. So the first thing I do is I go out and I'm using the VB script, the print manager, to go after Lexmark Northeast specific. That's why it's in there that way. You know, if you're going to nuke all of them, just hit the delete all and it'll clean them up. The other thing I do is I delete the port, okay? I'm going to rebuild that port, but if that port exists, it's just a good idea to clean it before you do it. So that's what step 1 does in removing. And then we create the port, okay? Again, it's PRN port. It's included in Windows under System 32 Print Admin Scripts. Obviously, we have the English version. And there it is. We're going to add the port. That's the -A. We've got the -R in there, and then I gave it a name, which is
That's the standard format.
yeah, IP underscore, and then the IP address, and then the -H, and then the printer, or excuse me, the IP address, and then the ORAW. I played with that yesterday, and it seems like if you do ORAW, it works pretty the cleanest through Windows 10, Windows 7, different. And
So you're not having to build a different package for each OS.
There you go.
Wanted to do it all.
And then finally, here we go. I did a batch file, guys, and the reason I did a batch file on this is because I needed to include every last one of the driver files. So under Lexmarks, you'll see, here's my batch file, or Lexmarks drivers. Here's the batch file, and I'm including this batch file and the entire directory and subdirectories. So let's just open this up, and I swear I had this centered earlier, but no one's going to believe me. So we'll just do that. JJ, is that a little bit right there? Okay. Anywho, I'll move it, but basically we're calling run DLL 32, print UI DLL, and then the print UA entry, okay? The /IF, okay? That means you're going to run an INF file, okay? /B means it's the base name for it, and we're going to name this Lexmark Northie. Okay. And then the front/F, that would be the file, all right? So that's the file. Now, here's the thing about that file. You need to have the right one, okay?
Yeah, they're specific.
They are specific to your printers. Now, in this case, people ask, can I do this with HP? Can I do this with Lexmark? These are universal drivers from Lexmark, and we decided to do universal drivers because 2 reasons. One, you can generally find universal drivers for almost any printer, and so this, will work for that. And 2, we tried the other ones; they didn't work on Windows 10, so we're going with the universal. But that INF file, and then the /R, which is the port that we're going to assign it to, and then
this is the port that we just built.
That's the one we just built, absolutely. Yep. Okay. And then front/M, the Lexmark Universal V2. I didn't make that up, guys. You actually will need 2. That's the model information.
The name of that driver, and it has to match what's in
from
that
the
manifest.
From that INF file. So here is the INF file right there. If I open this up, and again, right here, you guys see that? I'll use that. Okay, that needs to match spaces and everything because that's what it's going to look for, so that it can go and load the drivers.
Because you've installed the driver, so the driver's installed, and now you're going to say, hey, now that it's installed, go use this one for this port for this printer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so here's the thing. I included this and this directory and all subdirectories. So there's a lot of files that go with that. You'll notice if you take a look right here, I've got 31 meg of files. That's drivers, guys. That's just the way it is. Now,
it's not huge, but
yeah, it's just something to think about. Now, we're going to deploy this to Morty. And guys, this has worked most of the time.
Yep.
And the reason I say most of the time, like 90% of the time this works, sometimes it doesn't. I do it again and then it works.
A reminder that this is a live show.
It is live, and it is printers.
So. It is printers and it's live. So the bane of your existence, or my existence anyways, let's send this to Morty.
We don't get a second take on this.
So we might be going into the troubleshooting portion of this. Let me just do this really quick. We're going to open Morty to verify. Nothing up my sleeve, okay? I am going to do this so that you can see the printer port being built. But, all right, back to deploy once, Morty, and deploy. So first it's going to go delete. That's the first step.
Yep.
Delete the printer, delete the ports if they exist.
Then we're going to recreate our port.
Yep, and as soon as that happens, I'm going to bounce over to Morty and show you that that port actually has been created. Mm-hmm. And, okay. Step 2, it's doing it. Okay, it's now in step 3. So if I were to go over to Morty here and I go just add a local printer, next I can go here and you'll see right there, guys. I got that highlighted. I'm also going to circle it. I'm so proud. Look at that.
It worked.
Right there, guys. Okay, so it built the port. And now it's going to install that printer, especially if I get back here so we can watch it happen. Cross our fingers.
So this can take a little minute because it does have to install those drivers.
It does. It does. And like I said, 90% of the time it hits. Oh, it says successful. All right, what do you think?
It's gonna work.
Okay.
It's gonna work. Optimism is
Okay,
key.
time out. I'm the one who did this.
It might work.
It might work. All right. Oh, hey, there it is.
It worked.
Lexmark Northy. Okay, because it's universal driver, you notice the icon's a little bit different, but it did work. And again, this has been installed at the machine level. So, yeah.
Yeah. It worked. We should take a question. if
Let's
we've
take a
got one.
question, yeah.
Dear Lex and Josh, using the command line PowerShell options, is there a way to set printer as the default printer? We've tried the /y with printui.exe, but we've never had it actually work. Sincerely, Bryce, I am the king of chalk art, H.
Hey,
Hey, Bryce.
I like chalk.
I do too. I like to eat chalk occasionally.
I'm not even going to touch that. So, Bryce, this is what I think it is. And okay, when you're deploying as your default credentials, your background
Your deploy user.
or whatever deploy user you picked.
Yep.
So it's setting the default for that user.
Yes.
Okay. So you might want to try running that and setting the default for the logged on user.
You're going to get into a mixed bag there because depending on who's logged in at what time, you might set it for them.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'm looking at both you guys. Could you write a PowerShell script to run at the end to walk through all the users and just set it as default?
I'm going to look directly at Chris for that
Okay.
one.
Could you do that,
There.
Chris?
So, okay, two thoughts. First, on print UI, I'd like to mention it is user specific. So you could run as logged on user as part of the step if there's a user logged on. Traversing where that's stored. More than that, it's probably going to be easiest. I think even Steve Aldinger brought this up in the post in the chat. Excuse me. You can actually just use the WMI methods for the WMI class Win32 printer. It has a set. I think it's called set default printer or something like that method that you can use to set a printer as the default printer, and that you can do that for all that you
Users,
want.
machines, or everybody? Huh.
Neat.
And now you know.
When I learned something new.
Excellent. All right, so at this point, we're going to do the same thing with PowerShell. So I am going to go in here, and the great thing about this is I'm going to disable the create the port.
All right.
I'm going to disable the install, and we're just going to run the nuke.
Let's just get rid of it.
We're going to get rid of the printer and the ports on there. We'll verify that those guys are gone, and then you can do it with PowerShell.
All
so you
right.
see how it's done the almost as cool way as I did it.
That's debatable.
Okay, well, step over here. It says
All right.
it's running, which is
It's
good.
running. So let's fire this guy up. So I do things a little bit differently than what you did. And I think it's because I don't like typos, and I make typos all of the time.
More than me?
I think so.
Wow.
So
That's a throwdown
what
there.
I'm doing is I'm going to copy all of the drivers to
Okay.
the target machine first. So that's what I'm doing here with this file copy step. It's just going to get them to a directory on the machine. It doesn't really matter what it is. Just remember, because you're going to reference that later. In
Okay.
this.
So in this case, you sent it to C.
Just
my
C.
I can't even read.
My magic drivers.
There we go.
Yep. For that, I'm going to do a little for each object loop
Okay.
here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of the INF files with this get child item here. And then I'm going to install them one by one with PMP util, just like you did.
Okay, so the question I've got is you're going to do that for each one.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to end up with a whole bunch of printers?
I'm not. And the reason I'm not is those drivers only apply to a certain machine.
Okay.
So as it goes through, it'll fail on some of them. And I'm expecting it to fail on those ones and just install the ones that it needs.
Okay. All right.
So then we
that
get them
makes sense.
installed. Then I don't have to worry about typing the name of that INF. I'm just going to let PowerShell find it for me. After
A little smarter way to do it, I think.
maybe.
Yeah.
Then we're going to add the printer port, just like Lex did.
That seems a lot easier than the way I went about it.
It's a little bit easier, yeah. That's just add printer port, the name. You can name it whatever you want. So I'm calling it My Magic Printer Port.
Well, it's magical.
It's magical.
I like it.
And then giving it the IP address of that printer that's out there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install that local printer. And there's some I want to call out here. I can name it whatever I want, so I'm naming it My Magic Printer, if I can use that. and the driver name.
Okay, we were playing yesterday. You can install any driver you want.
Yes, I can.
And the reason you picked this one is it exists, and you want to install it and show that it's...
Yep. So this is not the driver for this Lexmark. I'm actually using the Microsoft XPS document writer driver.
Okay.
That's just on there.
Okay.
And it's still going to install.
And it'll come back successful.
It'll come back as successful.
However,
but that printer will not work. So somebody to call here if you're using a couple different brands, or not even different brands, different models
models of the same
thing. You really need to be careful here and use that driver name that's in the INF.
properly, yes.
Yes. Otherwise, you're going to end up with successful deployments, but nothing's actually
So
going to
you
work.
would, in essence, go and find the driver, that model name, the same way I did, copy and paste.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right here, just like it's installed on the machine.
Okay.
And then the last thing I do is I just clean up my mess. All of those drivers that I copied the machine, I'm just going to go remove them out.
Okay. Let's go see if Morty's all cleaned up.
Oh, looks like we
Did we close Morty?
closed Morty.
Dang it.
But you want to take a question while I
Well,
do the
do
soup?
we have a question?
Dear Lex and Josh and Chris, can we see an example of Chris's PowerShell script that deploys based on subnet, perhaps calling the machine's IP? Static or even dynamic lists in inventory or TXT files won't be prime and instantly updated for laptop users moving around a lot. Thank you, Jason A.
See that look? I can't do that.
No.
Chris, I'm looking at you, buddy. Can you do that live? Can you do that right now, or is that...
I'm going to go with no. At least
This you should have
for
said us
live
yesterday,
here.
man.
Yeah.
You know what? If you hit me up separately, maybe I can do a follow-up blog someday when I can find the time or take the time to do that. But I mean, where there's a will, there's a hammer
PowerShell.
and or way.
There's
I think
there's a way to hammer
There's
that
a
with
big
PowerShell.
enough hammer
Yeah.
to make it work.
And so, I mean, essentially, probably is the short answer I see from looking at the question. But I wrote that script probably, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
In what's likely a drunken stupor. So, yeah, if you want to hit me up separately, we can talk about it. So,
You ever notice all programmers like, well, I did that years ago. I've been drinking.
Yeah.
Because
So nobody knows how that works.
I read my old code and I'm like, oh man, what was I thinking?
yeah, I look at it and think, oh, why did I do it that way? Oh, well.
It
Jason,
works.
my answer to that is use group policy if you can. You can use item level targeting, loopback processing. You're going to make that work the way you want it without having to get into a lot of some nasty scripts going on there.
Yeah. All right, so is Morty all...
No, he didn't get cleaned up, but we were kind of expecting that at
Okay.
some point today.
The good thing is we're naming it something different.
We are. We're naming
All right.
it My Magic Printer.
My Magic Printer, so
So let's go ahead and deploy this out to Morty, and let's see if this works.
let's see if this works. It's printers.
It's printers. It might work.
It's a shake of the roll of the dice.
Yeah. So something to be aware of, this will take a little bit of time because I am kind of doing it the lazy way. I am saying, hey, copy all of the drivers over, and then for each, install them. And so it's going to take some time to do that.
Okay, while it's doing that, should we show them how to do GPOs?
Let's show them how to
Because
do
that's quick.
GPOs. Yep.
It's quick, and this
GPOs.
is, guys, you know, we showed you some ways so you don't have to mother may I, and I like it. It's kind of like UFC, get those printers out there, kind of.
So-
UFC, swing and a miss, maybe swing twice, you'll hit it.
Let's just get it done.
There you go.
This way. Yeah. So here we have a print server. We find our printer Lexmark Northy. All we have to do is deploy it with group policy. It's going to create the group policy object for us. So let's name it. Let's create a new
When
one.
you did that, you went to Print Manager, right?
Yep. I was in
Okay.
print management, right-clicked on the printer I want to deploy and said deploy.
Okay.
Well, we're going to create a new one here. We're going to call it Northy. Just so I can go find it in a minute.
I like that. It names it what it is.
It is. And then this is the only part that you need to really be aware of after that is how do you want to deploy, if I can click the right button, how do you want to deploy this? Whether you want it to be per user or per machine or both. So depending on how you're trying to target this, just pick the one that applies to you. So in this case, let's do both. We'll get the user and the computer.
Okay.
And okay. And that's it.
We don't have to do anything.
The only
on
other thing we've
GPO
got to
side
go
of
to
things?
it is go to our domain controller or something else that has a GP management editor on it.
Okay.
Find the one that we did. Let's see if we can find Northy Printer. It's down here in our group policy objects, and then just drag that wherever you want to apply it.
Okay. We're not going to do that because we want to see your script work.
Let's
but
see if it actually works,
that's
shall
how-
we? So we've got a successful.
Your stuff works, man. I'm crossing my
We'll
fingers.
see.
My Magic Printer.
We've got My Magic Printer there. and it's not going to work.
Let's do this because it's not going to work. But we're also going to go see that port. Okay, so we're going to add a device, local printer, and then we should see my magic printer port. So is shotgunning maybe it questionable how well this works. Certain things work all the time, and the printer thing you may have to check a couple of spots to make sure it works. But for the most part, 90% of the time it seems to work. We got any more questions?
And we're going to start our 5-minute speed round. How many questions can we do in 5 minutes? Dear Lex and Josh, when you deploy using /GA, does this also deploy the drivers, or do the drivers need to be deployed separately? Thanks, Travis.
Travis, hey Travis, let's go take a look and let's see if we are doing a network printer and add Northie GA. So here's the thing, that printer exists on the server, okay? So it's kind of like when you right-click and connect on the server, it's going to install the drivers. Basically, we're invoking that from a command. And so it's going to install the drivers from the printer. That's just a command to tell it where to go find it and what to do with it. So that's that one. What else we got?
Dear Lex and Josh, if there are other existing printers, will these commands set it as the default printer or an additional printer? Thanks, David M.
Hey, David. We're not doing anything with default printing on this. We're just adding another printer. So nothing we're doing here. And like we talked about before with getting into that user context, it can be dicey.
It's sketchy on whether you can actually set that default printer. So if you wanted to try and set the default printer, you need to make sure you run that. If you're going to do a command or a PowerShell as the logged on user, and hopefully the person's logged on that you're sending the printer to.
Hey guys, is there any way to assign printers by IP/location and to remove printers if the user changes to another office? Thanks, Patrick P.
Hey, Patrick.
Okay, so IP location. So like I got subnet A and subnet B.
So I'm instantly thinking, Patrick, that 80 sites and services. You've got them. So group policy is going to be a winner there. You've got a laptop. It's at site A, at the IP scope this. Give me these printers. I'm going to move it to site B, new IP scope, new printers.
Yep. That's definitely a GPO. That you'll have to mother may I if you can't do that GPO yourself.
Dear Lex and Josh, any way to check if the printer's IP is reserved during deployment? Thanks, Brian G.
I'm going to say programmatically you probably can. I mean, you'd have to script it.
I'm not. If I'm going the right way, I'm thinking it's maybe a DHCP reservation. If it's reserved, or are you saying reserved on the computer?
Well, okay, so my thought was this, right? I'm assigning, if I'm creating a port, is that port already used? And if it is it the right printer? Could you find that in PowerShell,
There
Chris?
is. Get-printer port.
Oh, okay.
And that will return you back.
Is there any chance we can run that by chance?
And for the record, he did in chat pipe up saying he's talking about DHCP.
Oh, DHCP, okay.
So DHCP, I guess if the machine that you're running it on has the DHCP commandlets with PowerShell, sure.
Chris, we're looking at you, man. Is that a pretty standard thing?
Yes, there's a commandlet for it. I don't remember off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure there's something for getting the DHCP.
So you just ran get printer port on this machine. So these are the ports that are currently assigned to that machine. So if it's already assigned, you've got them there.
So we've got your printer port and mine. My magic printer.
I like the name of yours better. It just kind of flows.
It just makes it hard for the next admin to come in and follow it.
Yeah, there you go. Figure out what it is.
Dear Lex and Josh, instead of using an IP address in PowerShell, can you use a host name? Thank you, the fabulous Valerie B.
Valerie, I am pretty sure you can.
You'll be able to resolve that name, obviously.
If you can resolve it, I'm sure that would take that. Chris, do you know off the top of your head if that parameter needs an IP or a host name?
I am not positive because I've always only ever used an IP when I've used that. So,
I have too.
But if it resolves, it should, I would guess. If not, you can resolve it prior to that command and get the IP and put it in.
Pass it as like an IP object or even just a variable.
Like a string or something. But I'm not positive.
All right.
Hey, Lex and Josh, is there a way to work in credentials to a printer you deploy for secure printing? Thanks, Mary M.
Mary, I don't know.
I'm chumped. I'm stumped. The chump is stumped. Yeah,
Take a drink.
Honestly don't know. I just finished mine, so.
While they're taking a drink,
More monster. Here it is. I don't know, Chris.
So I'm not super familiar with secure printing because I've never had that experience myself. However, if there is a command line interface for that, for any of the utilities that come with that, or if there's something that you need to provide a credential to it, but you're worried about providing it safely, you can encrypt credentials in PowerShell using the secure string data type. And I have a couple blogs on how to handle that, and you can go about that in a secure fashion.
So I
that's my
think,
thought.
again, you get a big enough hammer, you could probably make that work.
Yeah.
I don't know how, though.
And our final speed round question, how do you deploy some paper to a printer? Thanks, Alexander S.
We had this debate the other day. It's like, it's load PC letter or whatever it is, PC load letter. That's the one.
Yeah.
Why does that fall to IT? Honestly, or loading toner.
Because it plugs in.
Is that what it is? It's plugged in.
It's
So
plugged
the
in.
espresso machine's busted. Phew,
IT.
IT. I wish.
Well, IT would know if the espresso machine was busted. They'd be the first to know.
That is a good point, but yeah, I don't know how to do that. That's a great question, though, man. Anywho, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully, we only confused you a little bit. The good thing is we included all the stuff we've done in bonus content. So please do me a favor, don't pick it apart because it's me.
Yeah.
I did the best I can. And
It is what it is.
Seemed to work.
works.
So yeah, try it out. See what you can do. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks,
I'm
guys.
Lex.
And I'm Josh.
Catch you guys later.
See ya.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Thomas T. and Bryce H., winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. And if you have any additional questions, don't forget to reach out to our support forums. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.